Hi everybody, welcome to the 10th episode of New Mexico is a Basketball State podcast. I'm Russell Gurule, and we're going to go on into some great takes today. And I thank you for tuning in again. It's been an awesome time. We're already up to the 10th episode, which is amazing, considering, this was started about a couple months ago. Lots of views. I appreciate you watching. So I'm going to get right into it. This past week, about 2 weeks ago, was the West Coast Elite New Mexico Exposure. This was an exciting event. First time they've come here to Albuquerque, to New Mexico in general, and have put on an event, a showcase, in order to get some playing time and get some views for these high school players here in New Mexico. So this was really exciting to have happen here. And I think it was something that we'll see some benefit from, and hopefully they come back next year. Definitely want to point out that one of the players that really stood out again was William Deuce Benjamin of Las Cruces High, New Mexico Gatorade Player of the Year last year. And he really put on a dunk fest and was really aggressive, seems much more faster, more speed than what he had before. He's almost up there with Amir Mohammed of Cleveland. They're literally right there together. Amir, by the way, is playing in Division II college basketball. And so William has really gone up quite a bit. And it looks to be an exciting season for him, along with Isaiah Carr, top big man in the state. But we also had some exciting new players come on the scene. La Cueva's Daniel Jacobson, who I believe is going to be class of 24. He is a 6'10 player, nice player. He went up against Highlands' Jose Murillo, who's definitely getting a lot of attention. And Daniel held his own. He did get worked a little bit by Jose, but that's to be expected because Jose is a senior. So Daniel definitely made some moves and showed a little bit of outside touch, and that was nice to see. So that's really exciting for La Cueva, because they also have Exodus Ayers, who's also doing well on the football field. Then you have Gideon Harris. I believe he's going to be at Albuquerque Prep. This is some type of prep school that travels the country. He showed some really nice moves also. So that was exciting to see. So it looks like they got a lot of attention there on that showcase. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out over time. Jaquan Hill was another one who showed pretty well, and I think he's going to start getting more offers, and it looks exciting. Sean Alter, another one. These are both, Jaquan and Sean, play for Volcano Vista, so that's an exciting lineup right there. Sean Alter showed some nice post moves, and he definitely balled out in this game. And we had a few others that did pretty well also. So it's exciting to see these guys get out here and finally playing. And we're going to have a really nice season. That's one thing, that's what it looks like to me. We got a time of big man. The big man is showing up back here in New Mexico. With Daniel Jacobson, who's at 6'10", Sean Alter with his mohawk, he's probably at 6'10". He's 6'8". And then you got Jose Murillo at 6'9", and then Isaiah Carr at 6'11", and then his brother Caleb Carr at 6'8" or 6'7", I believe. You've got a lot of height there. And that's exciting to see, and especially with Nigel Wells coming in, who's getting offers from LSU, and Texas is looking at him, so that's exciting. Now, on some other fronts, Amari Brown, it looks like he's going to stay in Georgia and play for Sandy Creek. It's too bad, because it would have been exciting to have seen him play here in New Mexico, where his dad coaches at Albuquerque High, Greg Brown. So that's kind of disappointing, but it's also understandable considering the restrictions and the things that have been going on with the thing. So unfortunately, he's not going to be here. But you have other players there too, like Dylan Chavez, excuse me, having a pronunciation problem. Dylan Chavez is another exciting one that's getting some attention out there, and he is definitely somebody to watch. Of course, he plays for Albuquerque Prep. You won't be able to really see him because I guess they don't play here unless they have a tournament here. So we'll find out more about them over the time being, and we'll see how that works out. As far as other players are concerned, you got Alex Dominguez, and he's another one from Highland, a young point guard who's very sharp, very active. He's another one that I think is going to surprise this year, along with Jose Murillo. He got confirmation that Jose is going to play for Highland this year. So that's going to be an interesting team. Judah Casas, of course, is receiving some D1 interest from Southern Utah. And he plays for Del Norte, and he played well in this showcase also. And Shane Domo Sanchez is coming back from injury. So I'm excited to see how Shane comes back and what he does, because he averaged 25 points a game last season, and he really came out strong. And then he had the injury, but he seems like the type of player that's just not going to let that hold him down. He's going to find a way to get better while being injured. So I'm excited to see what new wrinkles to his game he's added. So that's one to watch for sure. And you have others. There's so many. And here's the thing that I want to get at. A lot of these players have a lot of the very similar skill sets. And so it's hard to kind of rank them, in my opinion. I'm going to get to rankings because they just came out, and I know it's a lot of talk going on out there. But it's hard, in my opinion, to really rank them without seeing a lot of consistency. And that's what you see in a season over 30 games, is that consistency. And so you can say, well, okay, this guy or this guy can do this and this and this and this. And for a lot of these players, the key thing is getting more skills and strength. Now, I don't think we have enough strength here in New Mexico. I really don't. I think we're kind of allergic to the weight room. And I noticed that at Section 7 in Phoenix, which was a national tournament, where New Mexico teams went up against California and Arizona. And it was kind of noticeable where they had more strength. They were bigger, stronger overall, throughout their rosters compared to ours. And so we got to get better at that. But we do have people who are strong, like Sean Johnson, Eli Lovato, people like that. And those guys at Sandia, they're going to do very well too. And they're just examples of what I'm saying as far as strength. It's just also a matter of skills, adding more and more skills, the details, the nuances, the things that separate you from the other guys, that make you more valuable to the team, the more things you can do. And basketball IQ is another one that really needs to be worked on too. We need to develop that a lot more in this state. We really do. We really need to be students of the game and really start to look at how we play. We have to start learning to play without the ball, start learning to see what we can do with less dribbles, see what we can do with all the different skills out there that are available that you can find on the internet now more than ever. And it also comes back to coaching too. We got to keep getting better and better. And that leads me to the shot clock. I hope it does come in. Still no word quite as of yet as to when that's going to happen, but I hope that comes in because I think it's going to bring more skill to the game. And so we're gradually evolving, we're improving, and I think that's a good thing. That's really a good thing to have happen. And so I'm excited to see that. Season's going to start in November, and it's going to be fun. I really think this year is going to be a really good one. I don't see restrictions coming. I really don't, because it's an election year. It's an election year. Let's be honest. They're not going to try to put more restrictions because they want your vote. I mean, I'm just saying. Don't be offended. Anyways, back to the kids. Back to the players. Anyways, we're looking at an exciting season where I think Atrisco, Rio Rancho, Cleveland, that whole District 1 is going to be super solid all the way through. La Cueva is going to be solid. La Cueva is going to be a challenge for sure because they got height and they have depth. And then Las Cruces. I really don't see anybody beating them except maybe Cleveland or somebody out of District 1, Unser Road. I really don't see that happening. I see Las Cruces just dominating this year. I really do. Because you have Isaiah Carr and William Deuce Benjamin. They're both D1 players. And frankly, William Deuce Benjamin should be getting more offers. I see the Lobos offered a point guard. Well, there was Deuce. Very athletic. Speed-wise, he's one of the fastest players I've seen in a while, next to Amir Muhammad. And I'm not sure why they're not looking at him, or maybe he's not interested. But it is kind of disappointing. You see, with the recruiting going on in New Mexico State and New Mexico appear to be ignoring most of our kids. Now maybe they'll try to get them on walk-ons or something like that, but that's kind of, frankly, I'm kind of tired of that. It's kind of degrading in my opinion. It really is, because I think our kids are better than that. We've got quite a few kids that have offers from other schools like LSU. You look at Amari Brown with offers from Mississippi State, TCU, schools like that. You look at players all across the state, and then with Nigel Walls coming in, this is another exciting big man. The competition is getting a lot better. Sean Johnson, he committed to this post-grad prep school, and so he could be a possible D1 player too. He's got the size for it. It's just a matter of putting it all together, and he plays for Sandia, and Sandia is going to be another very tough one. So the Metro looks pretty strong. I also like Roswell Goddard's Noah Reese, who's playing quarterback right now and doing really well. Noah Reese is one that you got to pay attention to, that should stand out quite a bit this year. There's some others that are out there. Kohanan Adazun from Gallup. He's another one, 6'4", 6'5" player who can do it all. He's another one that definitely to watch and pay attention to, and hopefully he's getting some looks. So I hope that they start looking more closely at the players here in New Mexico. But on a side note, players here in New Mexico got to get stronger. They've got to get better skills. They got to keep adding skills, because that's how you separate yourself. You know, I find it interesting. This Prep Hoops comes out, and like I was saying earlier, you know, we were talking a tad bit about rankings. You're paying somebody for their opinion on you. New Mexico high school basketball player. You're paying somebody $14 a month or $100 a year for their opinion on you. I find that interesting. I just find that interesting. I honestly think that, you know, when you look at it, you really don't have to do anything, because you're going to find out through the grapevine either way. And so I find that just kind of interesting. That's just me. I don't know if I would pay anybody for their opinion on me. I'd rather get it for free or through the grapevine and not even worry about it. But that's just me. I think it's better for a lot of you, and just hear me out now, to compete against yourself. Get better. Compete against yourself. Compete against your vision of what you think you can be. Because you could be probably better than who you think you are, or you may not be as good as you think you are. There's two ways that could go. The pendulum's swinging. So that's kind of how I look at it. You're either as good as you think you are, or you're not. And so you have to determine that. And so I just find it interesting that you would pay to find out if somebody's going to verify that to you in your mind. I think that when it comes down to it, and this is true for decades, centuries, that old saying, the cream rises to the top. It always does. If you're the cream of the top, you will rise and you will be there. That's how it works. If you're good enough, you will rise to the top. People will notice you without you having to say a thing. I'm telling you, that's how it works. People will say, yeah, this guy can play. That's how it works. You know, my macho man, Randy Savage, the cream rises to the top. In and out of balance, no doubt. You're going to show that you're the best player if you, in fact, are the best player. That's how it works. That's really how it works. And You won't have to deal with any agendas. If you add the skills and strength, you won't have to deal with anybody's agendas, anybody's promotional deal, any of that. If you add skills and you add strength, because the cream rises to the top. It's how it works. There's no other way. That's how it works. And that's how I take this take. So far, it's been a good year. Besides the thing, it's been a really good year. But I want to talk on the next take about Lobos, Aggies, this politically correct. But I like what the great comedian Ralphie May said, just correct. There's a lot of PC going on, and I want to address that in the second take. Excuse me. So, stick with me to the second take. All right, we are back from the first take where we talked about prep basketball. We talked a little bit about the rankings and things of that nature. The cream rises to the top. Remember that. But now I want to get into PC, especially with UNM this year. It seems like PC is the thing to do right now with UNM. Recently, it was about a couple weeks ago, head football coach Danny Gonzales said something to the effect of, well, we need to stomp on their throat when talking about a game that had occurred earlier in the season. And then he stated that he received an email from a professor who was offended by this statement. And so he wanted to, so Danny runs out and deeply apologizes and this and that. I personally found nothing wrong with the statement because it's an old cliche. It really is. What I do find offensive is going out there and trying to change somebody's speech, somebody's language. That's what I find offensive. It's getting to be where you have this group over here trying to determine what the rest of us can say and what we can't say. And that's not the United States of America. I'm sorry. It is what it is. But what Danny did, head coach Danny Gonzales did by doing that, by apologizing for just simply using an old cliche that every football coach in America has probably used once or twice in the last century, has now given power over to a faculty that in some circles doesn't even like UNM athletics and would love to see it go. And I basically said on Twitter, look, this guy's done. This guy is not going to win much. I mean, if he has to watch his language all the time because he's afraid that he's going to offend some professor, I mean, come on, really? It's not. We're gonna have a team that's not going to be very tough, to be honest. And sure enough, they've gone on a losing streak. I mean, they got murdered by Air Force as I'm shooting this. And yeah, I said murdered. Hey, are you offended? Go ahead and send me an email. I'll put it correctly in spam. That's where I'll put it. I think it's ridiculous, but we have that type of cancel culture throughout this country right now, and it's emanated from the universities. Just recently, the University of Texas San Antonio, they had a slogan that said, "Come and take it." It was about the Alamo. That's what was said at the Alamo in San Antonio. And of course, if you know your history, you know that Texas gained its independence at the Alamo in San Antonio centuries ago. So a professor wrote them and was offended by that. I mean, these professors are getting offended by all kinds of little bitty things, you know. I mean, I don't think they should be, because they're getting paid by us, the taxpayers, the citizens of this country, and they get to have tenure, and you can never get rid of them, even when they commit all kinds of poor performance on the job. I'm just saying, they got a great gig going on. I hate to pick on you, but, you know, you're asking for it. You really are. So they go ahead at the University of Texas San Antonio and get rid of this slogan, "Come and take it." So that, frankly, was nothing really offensive because it's a football slogan now. It's part of tradition. It's part of history. We used to have the Kit Carson rifle when UNM used to play the University of Arizona. Kit Carson is a major figure here in New Mexico. He's a major figure. Okay, he was up in Taos. He was a trapper. He was a scout. He did a lot of things, but his image has been tarnished, so on and so forth. So by these PC people, these cancel culture people, they want to rewrite history basically. So we no longer have the Kit Carson rifle as a trophy for whoever wins against Arizona and New Mexico, which used to be a rivalry at one time. Arizona has moved on, and they're probably smart by doing it. They've moved on, and they're doing other things, which is what we should be doing, is moving on. Now you have this culture, which has been going on for the last decade or two, probably more than that, where now it's finally reaching its apex with Washington. The Washington Redskins are now called the Washington Football Team. Yeah, I'm a little late on this one. It's 7 years ago where it really gained steam. But now they had to get rid of their name, okay? They had to get rid of their nickname because apparently now the younger generations of Native American Indians, and I'm part Native American, so that way you can't attack me. I'm just saying that. I'm just getting that out there because I guess we have to play this game. So they now have attacked the Washington Football Team, and so therefore they changed the name. And I do, however, want to point out that the Navajo Nation made a nice, great solution. They would say, well, how about call them the Code Talkers? I think that'd be a great name for that team. But now it's just sitting as the Washington Football Team because we want to rewrite history. You look at the Cleveland Indians. The Cleveland Indians have been around for 100 years. In fact, the name was used to honor an Indian baseball player. But now it's offensive to this PC cancel culture crowd. It's offensive to them now. So they changed it to the Guardians, which makes no real sense. It really doesn't make any sense at all. But we're seeing a lot of this going on in cancel culture. And it could happen to anybody here in the United States of America anymore, where anything that's said, I mean, one time I recall a writer for paper here in New Mexico, southern New Mexico, I believe, who used the word scalped in describing a big major blowout. Well, here comes all these cancel culture people wanting to get him fired. What, for using a word? They wanted to get him fired? I mean, I'm going to say this, be careful, because it can come back around to you, cancel culture people. It definitely can. It really can. You know, don't be so gangsterish about all this. It's time to start thinking with our logic and reason instead of emotions. And that's what's really going on here. And you're seeing this throughout the nation where we're trying to rewrite history or something. Or we're trying to supposedly correct what was supposedly wrong and somehow wipe it from history so that everybody feels better. Well, it's not about feelings. It is what it is. If you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. I know I could say that a million times, but it's just not going to click with those people. It's just not going to click with them. But that's how it's working out right now. So it's just a matter of time to where it gets to a point where we're saying enough's enough. And that's where I'm taking this take. Now, I wanted to talk about Lobos basketball. And I'm going to go in a different direction here now that I've talked about PC. Actually, I'm going to dial back. Let's circle back like that press secretary always likes to say. Just recently, I found out that the high school football all-star game that they're going to have this year, they're going to call it Red Chili All-Stars versus Green Chili All-Stars. That's very, it sounds corny to me. I'm sorry, but it sounds corny to me. Let's get a little history here first before why we came to this red and green chili all-stars thing. First of all, in the middle of the night, kind of like Congress does, the Head Coaches Association voted to get rid of the moniker North and South, and they did it during the time of the thing, okay? I call it the thing because if you've listened to any of these episodes in the past, I've explained why. I won't explain it here. They got rid of North and South without saying a word as to why they did. And they didn't even have the courtesy to say, well, why are we getting rid of North and South as the names for our all-star teams, for our all-star game? They never said why. I'd be curious as to the reasoning behind it, because if they did bring it out, it would be probably an interesting discussion. I think they're kind of scared to say why they got rid of North and South, because it might reveal some things that maybe not all of us would approve of, or maybe it would fall into the PC cancel culture thing. But, I mean, we're going to go with red and green chili all-stars. Hey, I'm a red chili all-star. I guess, is Hatch sponsoring this thing? I'm just asking a question here. Because it frankly is just kind of, it's corny. It's corny. I'm sorry, but it's corny. It's not unique. It's just plain corny. That's what it is. It's just plain corny. Okay? I'm sorry. If you're offended, well, I'm sorry. Okay? That's where I'm getting at with that. But now, let's go up front here and talk about Lobo basketball and what Richard Pitno just recently said. I guess he was asked about San Diego State and Boise State deciding to stay in the Mountain West. And as I've talked about, I believe in episode 7, conference realignment, and that UNM should probably be ready because Texas and Oklahoma are moving to the Southeast Conference. And so therefore, hey, there's going to be some open spots. UNM, New Mexico State, you guys got to be ready for stuff like this. Apparently they weren't. Apparently these other conferences wanted Boise State and San Diego State. Well, they decided to stay. So Richard Pitno says, well, I was kind of hoping they would leave. Really? I mean, I guess you don't want to compete against them. I mean, it makes no sense to have them, to hope for them to leave, because they improve your strength of schedule. They improve your RPI. And they definitely help you when you beat them as far as getting ranked in the top 25. I mean, it definitely worked under the Alfred years, for sure. So I don't know why you would want them to leave. I mean, do you think you're going to walk through the conference still if they leave? Doesn't make sense. I mean, you think you're going to be like the Aggies, who are going to have 5 new conference members from Division II that have moved up to Division I and now they're in the WAC? That's another thing. That conference keeps getting weaker and weaker, and New Mexico State doesn't seem to be preparing for inevitably being left behind. So I'm just curious as to why Richard Pitno would say that. It's just very odd to me. It just seems like he doesn't want to compete, I guess, or he just wants to cut corners and go the easy way. I mean, he's not recruiting New Mexico kids by any means, except for maybe Dalen Chavez. And so it doesn't seem like he's interested in any of the kids around here, any of the players. And we've got some good ones. Jose Murillo is doing really well. He's another good, strong player to definitely add to a roster. Isaiah Carr, New Mexico State let him escape, and he's gone to a school now that just had Midnight Madness, and they were camping out outside the arena there. It was a GCU, and so it's very impressive. And so to me, it seems like they don't want to generate the excitement. And I point these things out because these are taxpayer-funded schools. Citizen-funded schools is what I call them. Citizen-funded schools, because nobody else but citizens pay for these schools. That's the facts. And when they're basically recruiting outside the state instead of in the state, or considering legitimate players, especially players like Nigel Walsh, who's got an offer from Louisiana State University. That's the same school Shaq went to, okay? Southeastern Conference. I'm just saying. So, as far as things go, it just seems like everything's not quite right here in New Mexico when it comes to the direction of getting better and getting out of that 50th slot that we seem to have reserved for ourselves. We're dead last in everything, and we don't seem to quite want to improve upon that and build an image for ourselves that we can be proud of. There's states with less population like Nebraska, less population than here in New Mexico, and they've built themselves an image. They're proud to be Cornhuskers. Indiana's proud to be Hoosiers. We're proud to have chili, I guess. And so we're doing red chili, green chili all-stars. We need to find something to be proud of. You look at Oklahoma. They didn't want to be called Okies, so they invested. They wanted to be known as Sooners, and it's part of their history. Here, we seem to be trying to wipe away history, just like what's happening across the nation in certain areas. People have stood up against this, but it's a long fight. And to those who are offended by these things and want to claim racism, I would say this. Think of this in a logical, critical reasoning instead of thinking with your emotions. But it goes back to these professors. They're teaching this. They're teaching people to be emotional about all this stuff instead of critically, logically thinking about it. Because we keep seeing their byproduct. That's how we know. And so I would say to these people, think back about it. Because I've been around the country. I've been in every state in the United States of America except for Vermont and Alaska. And I have no intention of going to Alaska. No offense to Alaskans. I'm just not excited enough to go there. Okay? But I love the deadliest catch, Bering Sea. I love it. In Vermont, well, I'm assuming it's going to look kind of like New Hampshire. I'm going to tell you this. A lot of these names help people know who you are. Because you go to different areas of the country, they don't know who you are. There are people in states all around us, you know, from back east, Midwest, Northwest, that think New Mexico is part of Mexico for some reason. Bad at geography, because we're not known as anything. You have people that grow up in the urban areas of LA who think Arizona is next to Texas. New Mexico doesn't exist. So you have to start thinking now about, you know, defending what you have and getting better and doing better and getting rid of corruption and doing the things necessary that make things better for you as a citizen and for everybody else. And that doesn't mean taking money from this person to give to that person or trying to limit somebody's speech. It means being proud of what you have. It means going out and supporting all things, not just the Lobos or this or that, but supporting the other things, getting involved. That's what it really means. And not worrying about what a word means or what this means or what that means or whether you think it's racist or not. It doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, really matter. You know, because when you follow this logic through with this politically correct crowd, they could one day say to all of us here in New Mexico, well, you need to change your name because it's offensive to old New Mexico. New Mexico means it's better than old Mexico. I'm not giving you any ideas, but that's how this thing could play out. It really could play out that way. That's how crazy this sounds. And that's how crazy a lot of this is becoming. So we need to start standing up, those of you who fight for all of this, who understand what's going on, to get out there and fight for it. You know, that's the bottom line. Because if we give away our speech just because somebody wrote us an email and we allow them to have power over our speech and we allow these people over here to censor us or you allow those people over there to censor you, then you have no right to really complain. You really can't complain about anything because you give away your power. Don't give away your power. And that's what I'm getting at with this take. On the next take, I think we're going to talk about United and kind of what they're trying to do as far as getting money from you and I, the citizen payer. I don't like to use taxpayer anymore. It's a citizen payer because that's who pays for everything around here. So stay tuned for that third take. All right. Thank you. All right, so we talked about PC culture a little bit, and it kind of permeates into this too as far as United. New Mexico United, the USL soccer team here in New Mexico. What we have going on now is that New Mexico United is trying to get a soccer stadium, calling it multi-purpose, for their team to be able to play in over the course of the next 20 years. That's if they even survive that long, to be honest with you. I think that's kind of interesting how they would stretch that all the way out. That's been mentioned in the Albuquerque Journal. Gulf Grammar's done an article that's been pretty good. I have to give him credit on this one. He's definitely done a good job with presenting the facts, especially Jessica Dyer. Also did a nice article too when it came to bond money and whether it could be used for crime, fighting crime, homelessness, that sort of thing. Definitely check those out. I normally don't tell people to check out anything. I leave all that up to you to decide, but they definitely are doing some good work on this bond issue that's going on here in the city of Albuquerque. What's basically happening is United is asking for us, the citizen taxpayer, the citizen payer, to pay for their facility, a private business. As one commenter on Facebook eloquently put, he stated, it's always good in this business sense to have somebody else pay for your business. And that's kind of what this is. And really, I'm against it, okay? I frankly do not want to pay for somebody else's facility, especially when small businesses are struggling, not getting much. They're not getting all these big incentives like the film industry or anybody else who's got a big name, who's trademarked, who's got all this money that they can spend easily to bring jobs here in New Mexico, but we give them all kinds of tax breaks. But of course, it's going on across the nation. And frankly, I'm really kind of tired of this, because now we could possibly end up with a stadium that looks like it belongs in Europe. And when they say multi-purpose, it means it's going to end up with other types of things like concerts and things like that, which means it's going to compete against the amphitheater in Isleta. What we really need, and I'm going to pitch this tonight because we talked about this as a community from the 90s, I believe. I believe Greg Baca, former Mayor Greg Baca, was the one that really kind of put it on the drawing board after the Civic Center was torn down, which was located by the Big I. He brought up the issue of an arena. And really, that's something that we need. That's really what we need as far as development goes and is concerned, something that will bring in a lot of shows. Now, of course, you got to bring in at least 100 plus, and that might be very difficult because, frankly, we're just not at that big of a city. But we do get passed over for a lot of shows. That is true. And as far as Tingley is around, that place is not going to bring anything. Let's be honest. It's very outdated. It's old. I'm sure you don't want to go there. And that's why the New Mexico Runners and the indoors football team, the DC Gladiators, are over in Rio Rancho at the event center. But that thing only holds 6,000. They made the mistake of not building it bigger. If it was 10 to 12,000, it would already be very busy. And it would be generating some revenue for that community, I suspect. But when you look at Field of Schemes, the book that's been written over the past, that's been written about a decade or two ago, that's analyzed all these different things, all these different developments, it has shown that these stadiums really don't bring much of anything. They really don't. Only for a couple nights a year. And when you have something that big, you have to have it filled all the time. You have to have more events than what's going to happen as far as New Mexico United's schedule. They're not going to be able to play enough games to generate the kind of money that you're going to need to have that happen. And of course, they've done the nice little trick of extending it all the way out to 20 years, which was mentioned in that article by Golf Grammar. So that in itself means that they probably don't expect to get that much. And it's very concerning. Another albatross, just like the spaceport. Very few, if any, have gone. We've had like one test flight after 20 years, and bundles of money has been spent on that albatross. And art, well, some claim that art is good and the bus ridership's up. Well, but that's because unemployment's up. People can't afford gas and people can't afford their cars, so they're taking the bus. But that's going to go back down as soon as the economy goes back up. Hopefully soon, because this quarter, it's going to be pretty nasty. We're seeing some unprecedented things happening right now in our economy. We have ships on the East Coast, the West Coast. It's going to take 4 weeks just to unload them. Now, to put this into perspective, these are container ships, and they hold from 5,000 to 10,000 up to 17,000, which was the Ever Given, which is the ship that got stuck at the Suez Canal. That's essentially 17,000 semi-trucks. 5,000 to 17,000 semi-trucks per ship, if you think about it. To really put that into perspective, roughly 2,000 to 4,000 semi-trucks pass through Albuquerque every week, I believe, or every day. I'd have to look back at that quote to make sure and get accurate on that. But either way, thousands pass through Albuquerque every week. That's the bottom line. And all those goods, services, and products are not getting to their destinations. Most of these businesses are on revolving credit and relying on that type of credit, and their capital is being eaten up. And so now we're going to end up in a very bad third quarter, and we're seeing inflation rise as high as it was back in 2008. And I'm sure a lot of you remember 2008 who were working back then. I know I was, and I know I suffered like a lot of people. And so it's very important to think about these things, because now we're being asked to pay for a stadium to the tune of millions and millions of dollars when our economy is not doing well at all, and being stuck with that albatross. This is another albatross. That's what it is. It's a future albatross waiting to happen. That's what it is. That's what it comes down to, especially when we have gas prices going through the roof. I mean, yesterday I just paid $50+ for a four-door sedan. I drive a four-door sedan, about 15-gallon tank, and I paid $50 for the first time in years to fill the thing up. And I was at 3/4 of a tank empty when I started this filling process. So you can imagine what a lot of people are having to pay now. Food is going up. Today I got a haircut. That went up $5. Everything is going up. And now we're being asked to pay millions of dollars for a Euro-looking stadium, because that's what the renderings look like. A Euro-looking stadium. And I have nothing against Euro-looking stadiums, okay? I do have something against roundabouts. Can't stand those. But that's another point. We're asked to pay for this thing for a long, long time. And there's really no guarantee that the New Mexico United or the league that they're in, the USL, essentially a AAA league in the least popular sport in America, is going to stay around that long. Seriously. Think about that. In order to pay for that thing, well, in the future, if that team is not around, then we might have to, city government might have to raise taxes, and the citizen payer is going to have to pony up, right? It's always the citizen payer that has to pony up. And that affects everybody. That really does. People who don't like soccer, don't love soccer, who know nothing about soccer, will have to pony up for this. Do you really want that? Those are the questions I'm asking on this take. Because now we're in a situation where we have homelessness, we have crime through the roof, we're getting a homicide record, a record that we shouldn't need, shouldn't want, shouldn't have, and it's going through the roof. And it's becoming dangerous here in Albuquerque. It's becoming dangerous in the city. And we need to take care of it. Now, hopefully, this next mayoral election, we'll see what direction we go. We'll see what happens. But that's what I'm getting at. Why pay for something that could be an albatross for us? And looks like it's going to be an albatross for us because they're already asking for us to pay more money than any other municipality in the country has paid for a stadium of this size when it comes to soccer. I mean, all the graphics and the stats are there at the Journal. And I normally don't sway people to these places, but it happened today here on Sunday. This podcast hopefully will be out by Monday. And you can all look up the Sunday Journal. Gulf Grammar did a great job on this, and I got to give him props on it. And Jessica Dyer's article, which I believe was a couple weeks ago, also broke down some things too. So you can definitely look her up and find that article too, because that breaks down where the money can go as far as fighting crime and homelessness instead of a stadium. So definitely take care of those things. Take a look at those things. Research those things, because we'll have to vote for them in November. Now, I want to get into some other things here. You know, I've already picked on the Lobos, and I don't mean to. I really don't. And I've talked about getting strength, and the cream rises to the top. And I want to get into, a season. I want to get excited again about a season. And I want to get you guys to really start liking basketball again, because I think we've all been kind of in a lull as far as basketball, considering the thing's been around. But we need to get excited about something. We need to have something kind of magical happen, I would say. We need to get out of our houses and start going to games again. Definitely more this time than before. Definitely, because a lot of these young athletes in all these different kinds of sports deserve your support. They blow me away at the things they do, the work ethic they provide, the work ethic they've shown. They have definitely done some amazing things, and you'll be surprised with this generation of young people out there. They're asking questions, they're smart, and they've got a lot of abilities, and kudos to their parents. And they're definitely trying to make it in this world. And they deserve the support. So I ask all of you to go to a game this year. They're only $5. It's only an hour and a half for a high school game that's 32 minutes. There's concessions. There's activity there. And it's definitely something to check out. They start at 7 p.m. on the weekdays here in Albuquerque. In Las Cruces, I believe they start at 7. And there's a lot of good talent in this state. And it's definitely time to go out and have some fun, especially on a Saturday, too. They play on Saturdays also. Go out and support these kids. Even if you don't have any children of your own in school right now or playing, go out and support. Just go out and watch a little bit and see if it's something you want to support. Because they definitely need the support. They need that encouragement. Because like I said earlier in the first take, they pay for people's opinions of them. And like I said, the cream rises to the top, and they need people like you to see that. So that's where I really try to do. This is why I do this, is to get people more and more supportive of our youth, because I want them to take care of me when I'm too old to do it myself. So I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to help as far as them growing up, as them becoming adults, and the things that they're going to do in the future. And they're going to do great things. So with that, I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for playing. And we'll see you next time. Have a good night.